Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 13, season 2 of Around the Halo. It's a pleasure to see everyone. I am Bearded McMagic with Little Flower Media and the Bearded Blevins stream team. Thank you for joining us this evening. Chat is already popping off. You guys are excellent as per usual. We appreciate all the subs and bits and donations. Just as a quick heads up, we do have the notifications off for tonight as we capture tonight's excellent episode that we are going to be bringing to you live from a series of basements across the United States, which is, I think, always the best play because of the storms. That's right. Everyone watch out for the storms. Got to be safe out there. If you're joining us for the first time here for Around the Halo, we play a little game show in which we talk about pop culture and everything that we can think of in the world that's interesting through an authentic Catholic lens, which is who we generally are as people. And then I give away points that don't matter at all. And I usually just pick the person who is the snazziest dresser, because I can't give the award to myself for wearing all black every day of my entire life. I have to live vicariously through our wonderful contestants. I think we should run our way through meeting some of them right now, shall we? This is my good friend Jonathan Blevins, the CEO of Little Flower Media. Jonathan, how are you?
I am doing so well.
How well are you doing?
Well, we've had some crazy weather over the last few days, and I enjoy that. Oh,
nice.
Do I have to turn that off? Am I the only one who can hear that?
What's up?
I have the notification. I can hear the notification.
Oh, you got the notifications on. Gotcha.
I don't think anyone else heard that. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, man, we had golf ball size hail yesterday.
Yeah, it was uncomfortable. It was
in like the middle of the morning.
I was a little concerned when my dad sent me a photo, and you apparently had them as well. I dodged it a little bit, but it was pretty ridiculous. It was property damage level.
Yeah.
And I saw several movies about this in the 90s, which means that it's the end of times, and everyone should prepare for some type of intense weather one way or the other. What was that movie called? Day After Tomorrow? Did you like those disaster flicks?
No, Twister. You're thinking of Twister.
Well,
I have one more thing to say before you.
Yeah, okay.
I have one more thing to say before you move on to the introductions. Are you ready?
Yes, please do.
Let's go.
I'm glad that you were able to find a way to fit that in to our intro tonight. And of course, we also have to meet one of our guests, returning guest, Nicholas Sciarrapa at Papa Sciarrapa. It's great to see you, my friend. Tell me a little bit about what you've been up to and also this wonderful room that you're in.
Yeah, I could tell you all about my life, but what the viewers and what you all need to know in competition tonight is I'm the only person here who is undefeated. That's right.
Yes.
So I can see all of you in your little squares trembling in your boots. I don't know if you're wearing boots, but I'm in the only room in my house where my illustrious wife won't hear me, my baby won't wake up, and it happens to be this. I'm surrounded by a bunch of dead people on pictures.
Well, I think you're in great company, being surrounded by the right kinds of dead people, which is pretty excellent. And that's true. You and I are undefeated in the world of Around the Halo. And of course, Joel Stepanek at Chasing Humility. Welcome back, my friend. I have to say, before we get started, that this is my favorite selection of topics that you have ever picked out for an individual show. It's like the hits just keep coming. I'm not sure how you pulled it off.
Well, the thing is, Matt, I'm here for the fall of Western civilization. And tonight I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. We got a coin. It actually has the act of contrition on it because I'm sorry for what I'm about to do.
Clearly.
I am going to, this evening, it's takes or fakes. So if I get heads on this coin, I'm going to give you the real take, what I actually think. And if it's tails, I'm going to fake it out. And the viewers at home can play along too.
I like this. And perhaps at home they should tally up what you think Joel is telling the truth versus lying about. And then what's the deal? You have to repeat the act of contrition for every time that you have successfully lied, or if you get busted, does it not count?
Probably just in general, I think I should retry.
I'm just probably going to do it no matter what. All right, I think that's a great call. And returning to the show this evening, Bridget Richardson at UST Max Studios. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You are welcome to talk about anything you want as long as you don't discuss the limited amount of sleep you're getting, because we've learned from Joel that that's a big no-no around these parts.
Deal. I don't want to talk about it because I'm not getting it. So why would I
Joel
talk about it?
has a thing about it, which is that he hates it that people ask the question, and I maintain that it's actually very polite because someone is trying to gauge what level of insanity you are entering. And so before the conversation starts, I feel it's important to be like, hey, you get any sleep? Because if you look at me like you're going to murder me, I'm not going to ask my follow-up question, Joel. But if you're like,
That's fair.
no, it's going okay, then I'm going to be like, fantastic, because you didn't turn in those TPS reports, and that's going to be a problem. All right. Well, I think we should go ahead and get started. Once again, we are going to go through a whole bunch of topics this evening that are going to be entertaining for all. And at the end, somebody's going to get, whoever is deemed our winner is going to get 30 seconds to shamelessly self-promote or discuss anything that they want. It's probably going to be Nicholas. So everybody should buckle up for that. Are we good to go? Is everybody ready? You look ready.
I have
so ready.
never been more ready.
Good. That's what I like to hear, Jonathan. That's good. All right. Starting us off. You can't see me. The NCAA women's basketball tournament wrapped up this week in spectacular fashion, with LSU topping Iowa to win their first national championship. The final set a record viewership with 10 million tuning in to watch the game. Iowa star Caitlin Clark, who has a reputation for her expressive play, found herself on the wrong side of the game and of a taunt similar to many of the taunts issued by Clark herself to other opponents from LSU power forward Angel Reese. Many called the taunt by Reese classless, while others have pointed out that similar criticism was never levied against Clark. We're going to start with Jonathan as we go around the halo here. Do you see a disparity, or are people making an issue out of nothing?
Okay, I have the only correct take on this, so no need to even ask our other
No
guests.
problem.
Because I
You know what?
apparently... Go ahead.
We'll just close down the show after you give this single.
Apparently,
single hot
people
take.
just can't give normal takes and just be normal. Okay, so let's start here. Okay, first of all, as you said, I think it's actually more like 12.6 million of the latest numbers of viewers of people watching. Some think as high as almost 19, which is crazy. This is in my opinion, and what we know, the most watched women's sporting event probably of all time. Maybe a World Cup beats it. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. Maybe like a USA World Cup. I mean, I'm watching all those USA women's national, but that's the only women's sport I watch is women's soccer. Because why watch them when you could just watch the guys who are better? And I'm not being mean. I'm just like lower the rim a little so they can dunk, or I'm going to watch the guys, right? Insert the entire LSU team, who's just wildly entertaining and very good at basketball, and Caitlin Clark to come save the day. Caitlin Clark was the only reason I've watched any NCAA women's basketball this year, and I watched the entire championship game. I was so excited, and I was cheering like crazy with my boys. My boys were loving it. Like, it's proof that women's sports can be great. It was ruined by the referees. That annoys me. Now, all that said, okay, so it's a big stage, big deal. Caitlin Clark talks trash all the time. It's what she does. A couple weeks ago, she was in a game and she literally looked at someone and mouthed, we could see it, "You're down 15 points, shut up." Right? So she's got this dog attitude on the court, which I think is awesome and very good for the sport. What she did when she does this thing and when she talks trash is different than what Reese did. Reese taunted her, walked around, chased her. It was goofy. It was weird, but I love it. It's good for the sport. It's drama. Let's go. She's incredible at the game. Reese played a great game. And so I love it, but it is definitely different. I don't like that people are making it about race. I can't personally think, is my last part here, I can't think of a time when a Super Bowl champion went after and taunted a player on the other team, or even brought them up in the post game. It's a little weird. Caitlin Clark lives rent free in the entire league's head, which is great for the sport. And I will say, I'm watching Iowa basketball, women's basketball next year.
That's fair. That's fair. I can give you full credit on that particular take. Nicholas, the clear double standard here going on between men's and women's sports. Just to go a little bit deeper, how deep do you think the disparity is between the behavior of, men's versus women's sports, or maybe black versus white athletes? Where are you seeing that in this situation?
I think the best way to answer that question is to quote my favorite philosopher, poet, and probably the next highest paid actor after The Rock hangs it up. I'm quoting, of course, John Cena.
Great choice.
When he says, "Ain't no way you breaking me, kid. I'm harder than nails. Plus, I keep it on lock. I'm a part of the jail. I'm slaughtering stale competition. I got the whole block wishing that they could run with my division, but they just be out going fishing." Here's what I mean. There are two important elements to this whole situation. The people on the court, you have to have an interior freedom and think that you are the best. And part of being the best is absolutely every time crushing the mind games. And that's what I'm seeing here. So that's part one. Part two, it's entertainment. As John so beautifully talked about, I watch TV. Why? To be entertained. Why? And why is this stuff on the TV in the first place? So people in office buildings with big cigars can get all their money, and that's what this is about. It's about two things: entertainment, and then for the players to have that interior freedom, say, "I am the best. You can go out fishing with all your crap. That's fine, but I'm a part of the. I'm a part of the. It's just so perfect." And so I think if we lose sight of what sports are, and we lose sight of that competition and how to be strong when someone's trash talking you, then you're not doing your best as a sports player. And if you make it into something other than entertainment, that's clearly what it is, because it's making money for the American people, then you've lost the point. Then you're just making news for no reason.
Yeah, I think that's great, and way to bring both soliloquy and props. I'm proud of you, buddy. That's
all I've got.
Joel, the women's game was arguably much more exciting than the men's game. Did this storyline contribute to that, or did it just have to do with the game actually being kind of close? Here comes the coin flip.
I think that this is a peak moment for women's basketball. I don't think it had anything to do with the game being close. I think that it had everything to do with great basketball being played and two teams that were competitive. And there was an entertainment factor of people going at one another. I think they crafted storylines that were well done. I think that there was an absolute benefit to the shenanigans of Caitlin Clark. And honestly, I think that Reese's comeback tour was appropriate. I think that it was kind of crazy that she came after a player that was losing. However, at the end of the day, you invite that behavior. It would be different if she had approached any other Iowa player and done that exact same gesture. So I think that's only going to further elevate the sport. So I think that there has been something really great that has happened here. Whether or not women's basketball can capture that, I don't know. My sneaking suspicion is that they're going to cascade and move backwards, because at the end of the day, there's going to be all this pushback about decorum and how right play and sportsmanship and blah, 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 blah. And that things are going to go back to being super vanilla after the fact. But if they don't do that, if they can stay the course and push it forward, I think a new era has dawned in women's basketball, which has the potential to have better parity in it than men's basketball does, with a bunch of legacy schools that win all the time. I wanted San Diego State to win. I really did. They weren't going to beat UConn. They just weren't. And that's how it goes every single year. If you're east of the Mississippi, you're winning the tournament. That's just how it goes. Women's basketball is the new men's basketball, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I can see that. Bridget, in the immortal words of my grandfather, everyone needs to act like they've been there before. Men's or women's sports, he would argue, is losing its purity because it's not originally designed to be the entertainment that the WWF is supposed to be, right, with its storylines, and that he feels like that there's a pure element to sport that is okay to celebrate when you are winning the Super Bowl or winning the national championship. Otherwise, everybody needs to, control themselves a little bit. What do you think?
No. When has anybody ever controlled themselves when playing sports? Ever in the history of playing sports? Never. So
just the boring ones.
Well, not even the boring ones. Like, I feel like golf, my favorite part is when people like end up like throwing their club or like they have this moment of rage. Like you wait for that when you watch golf, right? But I don't know. I love this. Like what everyone else says, it was the bully getting served, honestly. So when Angel Reese did it, I was like, yeah, that's what Caitlin Clark deserves. She handled it very well. She took it very well, but why not? Like, I don't care. And honestly, like, this is a reaction of reactions, because the people that reacted to this first and a lot of these stories who they're writing about, the Keith Olbermann guy and then the guy from Barstool Sports, neither one of them really even watch women's basketball. And they said it, like the Keith Olbermann, whose comment was like too much. I mean, it crossed the line when he said that she was classless. But he said that, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even know the storyline between Caitlin Clark and blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I retract that. Like, okay, so you don't even watch, you don't even care, and you're just reacting. Okay, whatever. And then the Dave Portnoy guy, I mean, he went back and said, I will quote him, 100% facts. If I bet LSU, I would be defending her from the treetops. I've said that from the beginning. I was rooting for Iowa, but what she did was classless. It literally has nothing to do with race and never did. I watch games. I shoot off tweets. So he's just saying stuff to say stuff. Like the whole world is reacting to these people who are just putting stuff out into the atmosphere because they're paid to put stuff out in the atmosphere. And honestly, Dave Portnoy probably had money on the game and probably lost a lot of money. And all this comes down to is money. So I love it. Keep it going. I hope it continues in the next tournament.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling.
The Caitlin Clark Revenge Tour next season is going to be a blast.
Why not? Bring it, right?
No, she'll get a talking to.
Yeah,
that'll be boring.
A firm finger waggle.
Don't you do that again, Caitlin.
All right, moving on to topic number 2, moon juice. NASA has revealed that the crew of Artemis 2, the first astronauts to visit the moon in nearly 50 years, this crew is made up of the first woman, a black person, a non-American to ever leave low Earth orbit, will not actually land on the moon, but will set the stage for the Artemis 3 crew who will actually land on the moon. The long-term impact of the mission is to prepare to send humans to Mars. Nicholas, is America ready for another moon mission, or is infatuation with space exploration best left to the Cold War and the 60s? What do you think?
Wait, can we go back just like a half second? Like, how lame would it be to be on Artemis 2? You want to go to the moon? Well, we'll get you close. That'd be great. To answer your question, I just think of my good friend George Bailey from the 1946 classic Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life, when he says, "What, Mary, do you want the moon? Just say the word and I'll send Artemis 2 up so that we can get on Artemis 3 and go to the moon." I don't know. There's something about it that just breaks the romance of it. What I think is why are we doing this? I think there's a deeper interior problem here going on that we are so uncomfortable with our neighbors here on Earth, and we can't settle our differences here on Earth. So we're divorcing the planet Earth and rushing to the moon until we can figure out our business between countries, in our own countries, things like poverty and injustice and that sort of thing. We don't deserve the moon. We don't deserve the cool floatiness. No, we don't get nice things until we can play together nicely. So are we ready? Yeah, in this kind of let's just explore and blah blah blah. No, that's masking a deeper problem. The deeper problem of we don't like it here. Let's go somewhere else.
I'm going to throw you a tough follow-up curveball here, Nicholas. No. Did we ever deserve the moon? I mean, we went once already at the peak of a Cold War, which was the primary motivation for its execution. So what do you think?
Did we ever deserve the moon? I'm going to be congruent with my thought here and say, no. Super no. Absolutely not. 100% of your daily recommended dose of no. Things weren't better then.
I'm not getting anything out of those moon rocks, so I totally understand where you're coming from. Joel, I don't want to ask you this question. I'm going to ask you a different one. Isn't there a chance, I shouldn't lead you into this one, is there a chance that humanity has always been driven by, let's call it 2% of sort of a higher achieving class that through its effort and perhaps mere existence kind of drags the rest of society and technology through the dark ages into whatever we have now, and as a result isn't a potential policy to kind of be a little bit more hands off and be like, listen, you guys are shooting off rockets and going to outer space, which is the reason we have every single piece of technology that's around us, so maybe we should just let that fly. Flip it,
see what the coin says.
This is great.
You're exactly right, Matt. I think that the thing is, we need people to bring us forward and push the envelope. Who is looking? But really think about this, y'all. I know that sounds like did we like in the world? Nobody got where they wanted. Wow. This horse-drawn plow. The other day, I took my kids to the Gilbert Historical Museum because my dad was here and he loves this sort of thing. They had a single plow that some guy hooked an oxen up to and stood behind and pushed to plow. Somebody at some point who was smarter was like, there's a better way. There's got to be a new frontier of innovation here. And so they developed multiple plows with multiple horses and then engines. And people are pushing this forward. Most of the population is always going to be focused on the problems of the now. Why don't we fix this or this or this? We need people who are saying, yeah, but what if we expanded it? Yeah, there's issues. There's always going to be issues. But why don't we look at the bigger picture and what we could do? Going to the moon embodies and represents the best things about America. Looking away from our problems and up at the sky at something else and saying, let's go there instead, and maybe this will figure itself out here. All that joking aside, I think the truth is that we have to push this space exploration because it's going to help us develop new technologies for one day, many years in the future, when a rock is hurtling at this planet and we say, thank goodness Elon Musk built rockets that took us to the moon, and the crew of Artemis 2 had a nice little tour where they took pictures and selfies to put up on Instagram as they passed by it. That now we're able to get off this godforsaken planet that we polluted so badly anyway. We can't live here, and it's a good thing it's going to get blown up. Mars has been colonized. Mars is the new Earth. Let's go.
Wow.
That was really good.
That has to be your fake take.
And now we'll never know. I mean, I guess it depends on how many prayers he says afterwards. Yeah, and there's a chance that this whole process has been going on so long and we just don't have the history behind it, that we've already gone from Mars and came to Earth to save ourselves, and now we're going back to Mars again. Like, we don't know. We could all be original Martians. Let's look that up. Bridget, NASA has expressed a desire to potentially establish a permanent base on the moon utilizing water or ice in the South Pole to establish its operation. Is there any chance that the moon doesn't become a potential area for future conflict based on what you know about humanity?
It will absolutely be a place for
I can't
potential
wait.
future conflicts. But here's the thing that I always say in these times when we have these discussions. There are going to be things there that we do not think are there that are there. Mars, the moon, wherever you think in space, there are things that are there.
Aliens.
That we don't know, that we're going to see them and we're going to be like, oh, we didn't think it'd be conflict with those people or with those aliens. I'm just saying we are stepping into some interesting territory that I don't think humans are prepared for. And honestly, in my head, it's really funny to think about conflict on the moon and people racing to get there. So say one country wants the water that you have on the moon, it's gonna take a year to get there to get the water. Like, it's just it's kind of like a slapstick.
So as a quick follow-up, do you feel that that's good or bad? Like, do you think it's good or bad that people are pushing the envelope? At a certain point, we didn't have boats and nobody would go on the ocean, and it was just a giant, insurmountable task to be like, I don't know what is in that water, but we can't go out there. And like, is that a positive, or do you feel like it's pushing too hard?
Absolutely. I think innovation is good. I think pushing the envelope is good. I don't want to be the first person to do it.
No. No, absolutely not. You don't want to be the first person for anything. LASIK surgery, hair transplant, none of the stuff that you don't want to be the first one in line for any of that. You give all that.
These
a
people are
decade.
heroes, Matt.
Yes, they charged in there first because they couldn't wait any longer. But you give it a decade, you let the prices come down, you stop making people blind and look like skinned squirrels, and then you move on with your life. Jonathan, what do you think? Are you up for a trip to Mars in the future, or are you just gonna die on planet Earth like a happy old man?
No, yeah. When it's time for the Earth to die, I'm dying with it. Okay. We have talked about this before. Before I continue my take, I would like to just ask Nick Sciarrapa a quick question, buddy. True or false? You and family members have in the past suggested blowing up the moon.
I do not represent the views of my older brother, Father Anthony Raphael Sciarrapa.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Here's the deal. Here's what we should do. We should take the new mayor of Chicago and the entire city of Chicago and send them to the moon. That sounds like an amazing idea. They can find out what's happening over there. If there's any conflict, they'll figure it out. Okay, they have tons of ideas. It's going to be great. This whole thing scares me. I've always said, it's been my take. We've had a couple of space conversations on Around the Halo and Part in the Intercession in the last year and a half. Space terrifies me. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. It's weird. I do think that bad things are going to happen, and I don't think we'll ever actually make it, because I just think we'll die first. Let's just ruin another planet and get to Mars. No, we're not going to have a chance to do that. I will say this: it is weird that you mentioned, McClure, that this is the crew, which is not going to land on the moon, is made up of the first woman, Black person, and non-American to ever leave low Earth orbit. And they're not going to get to go on the moon. They just completely screwed themselves over. All those people have to be on Artemis 3. Okay, it's ridiculous. There's no reason. They're gonna have to have Artemis 5, and then send them there that time so they can actually land on the moon.
Yeah,
I digress. But space is bad.
I agree with you there, and it's because no one can hear you scream. But I'm going to highlight this as we close.
The final take is space is bad,
and I'm going to highlight this because I can't possibly let it go without mentioning it. We're the only ones talking about it. Right? Astronauts are a team that are working towards an end goal of doing something that is so much bigger than the rest of what's happening here that they don't care if they're on the mission that dumps the suitcase on the moon so that someone else can pick it up and take it to Mars. They could care less. They're all about the singular long-term goal, and we are making it worse by being like, oh, this person's not really an astronaut because we're not letting them land on the moon. You know how many people get to go to outer space, period? I mean, the fact that there's any type of diversity at all is pretty incredible when you think about what the qualifications are to make it happen. They're not looking at that. They're just finding the best people and trying to make something amazing happen. That's enough for me. I should calm down. That's going to get clipped for sure. I'm off the rails. Let's move on to our next topic, which will be better than this one. Fungus Amungus.
Cool.
The CDC issued warnings about superbug fungus that is spreading in Nevada and may pose a threat nationwide. Canada Aris is resistant to many antibiotics and is most likely to spread in nursing homes, where it can be particularly lethal to older patients and those with pre-existing conditions. The fungus was identified at more than 30 hospitals in Nevada, and the CDC has said that this fungus potentially poses a nationwide threat. Joel, are you concerned about a super fungus, or is this sensational news that is being reported for views?
Isn't it interesting that The Simpsons predicts so many different things that happen in our world? And yet, out of nowhere, recently a show launched on HBO that was based off a video game that was kind of popular, but was about a fungus turning people into zombies, which exists really in nature. It's a real thing that exists. Cordyceps is a real fungus. And we just, cool, let's release the show. Isn't it crazy and it's kind of fun? Or are they preparing us for something bigger? That's the question I think that I'm asking myself. And honestly, if I look at it, I do wonder if this is a bigger threat than we might need to to like think through. The science behind The Last of Us maybe is a little bit crazy and a little bit weird, but that stuff does freak me out. Fungus, for those of you who are maybe not putting the pieces. Do you know what we make from fungus?
Mushrooms.
Penicillin, amoxicillin, drugs that are psychedelic. But mostly penicillin and amoxicillin, things that we use to fight bacterial infections. We're already using this for medicine, which means this stuff is not going to be responsive to anything we give it to try to kill it. So if this were to mutate, and I'm not suggesting that it would mutate in such a way that would turn us into zombies, though maybe, but like a fungal infection could actually be remarkably difficult to treat. So I think I would be worried about this, especially since it attacks vulnerable people. But like any organism can mutate and become more transmissible and more difficult to treat, and we just don't have the ways to do it. So does it turn us into zombies? No. But could this wipe out a lot of people? Possibly.
Yeah, it could. I noticed that you didn't flip your coin on that one.
I did flip my coin early on.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I did.
Great. Okay, good.
I did. I'll try to get it in the frame a little bit better. There we go, like that.
No, that's golden. That's golden. Bridget, in the world of media, do you think it's a coincidence that stories like this crop up to popularity at the same time that other television shows with the exact same premise are hitting their stride? So we talked briefly about this HBO show, The Last of Us, which is essentially a sort of a fungus parasite that turns people into zombies, and now all of a sudden major news outlets are like, that could totally happen, and it is happening right now. Here you go. I mean,
can't you just see a journalist like in their room, like watching that and be like, oh man, I got to do some research. Oh wait, this hospital, and then it just like goes off the rails. They submit a story, and all of a sudden here we are.
I can. They work for
That's
Vox.
how easy it is. The thing that really freaks me out is that I don't watch this show, so how am I supposed to be prepared?
That's a great
I
point.
do not know what happens.
That
and the
is
only
a great
time I've
point.
ever seen this show is, okay, I would love NBA on TNT. For whatever reason, they always play horror movie trailers at night when you're watching basketball. And so I saw a preview for The Last of Us, and I was like, what is going on with this? This is the scariest thing I think I've ever seen. Why am I looking at brains? Like, it was terrifying. So I will be totally unprepared if that does happen.
That actually happens.
Yes. But the fungus that is happening, I mean, I think it's a journalist who's just like zoop, 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 like falling down the rabbit hole. And then other news outlets copy each other. And here we are down the rabbit hole with them. So.
Yeah. Sorry, Jeremy. When I said Vox, what I meant was New York Times. Jonathan, are we making diseases worse, or is the reality of increasingly dangerous strains of bacteria, viruses, and fungus something that we just need to accept? Like, is this kind of always been around and now we're just reporting on it all the time, or or is it progressively getting more dangerous?
As an expert in the field.
Yep.
I'm kidding. According to the Yale School of Medicine.
Oh, this starts
McClure?
good. You're starting strong here.
That's Dr. Scott Roberts, MD, assistant professor of infection prevention. Why is it funny, Bridget?
This whole thing that you're doing is hilarious.
According to him, climate change has something to do with a rise in the fungal disease category. However, almost all of them, about 99% of fungal infections, only affect people who are immunocompromised, specifically people who look like me or fatter. So I think what you're seeing is, sure, maybe climate change has something to do with more of this stuff happening, more diseases, all that kind of, who knows? Who cares, really? That's not the point. The point is, it's time to start talking about how important it is to take care of your body so that you can, first of all, your body's a temple, right? And second of all, so that like you can live longer and beat this kind of stuff and not die to things like this and things like The Last of Us. And if The Last of Us does happen, also probably good for you to be in good shape. So that's why I'm excited to announce that for the last 5 days, I've been doing Whole30, except with the allowance of dairy, of course, because I'm not giving up dairy.
It's not at all Whole30.
However,
biggest things you're not supposed to have on Whole30.
Don't worry about that though. But it's all about it's all about natural stuff and high protein, all that kind of stuff. Because I need to start making sure that I'm doing that so that I don't end up like The Last of Us. The last thing I'll say, there is a viral video that was viral on Twitter and I think TikTok. Did you guys see it? Where this little fungus thing was on someone's hand and it like leaped up to the middle of the arm and it looked very much like what happens in The Last of Us. It was creepy. I will try to find it and post it in the chat.
That's a worm. It's not a fungus. That was a worm. Yeah, and it's proboscis goes out looking for prey.
Disgusting.
I've seen the video, but it's a worm.
Doesn't it look just like the Last of Us though?
It does look like the cordyceps in The Last of Us. Yes,
disgusting.
But it's a worm.
Anyway, eat more grass-fed butter, and you will not die to fungal infections.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right, Nicholas.
Doing Whole30, but I still have a case of beer every night.
Short.
I got a whole 30 pack of Keystone Light.
short story time as we lead into Nicholas's time here. I worked with a guy named Bob Sweezy, who was a great tennis pro on the North Shore, and he lived in northern Arizona for a number of years, where at the time he caught what was called desert cough, which actually turned out to be a fungus that had infected his lungs, and he spent a little over a year in a hospital with them basically trying out different types of poison on his lungs to try to kill this thing off so that he could get up and survive and get back to work. And so it was a terrible story. Kind of interesting. So here's the correlation. He turned out fine. Everything was okay. He lived for another 48 years and was a super nice guy. But the only reason I bring this up is because he tells this story, and what sticks with me about it was how lost the medical team was, even between regions. So he lived in northern Arizona for a year, moved back to Chicago, and it took him a couple of months to even take a shot at putting together like, oh, you've been in this other region, maybe we should call some of the local medical staff there and see if there's anything going on that we aren't aware of. So part of my question is, do you think that like this idea of something posing a nationwide threat is it's sort of an advancement of our own technology, and perhaps even a good thing, like could be even viewed as a positive, that like, hey, keep your ears and eyes open for this kind of stuff, because this does exist, it is a potential threat, and the awareness sort of is, they're trying to spread, if that makes sense, rather than the disease.
Yeah, that's a lot. I think of
that was a lot.
Poor Bob. First of all, second, I think of Ecuador has the biggest stockpile of drugs that take care of tapeworms, because they have a severe problem with it down there. And if tapeworms went crazy all over the states, we'd have a problem. So in our society, is it good that we're prepared for more and more things? Yes. But when it comes to this particular fungus, I have two questions. And number one isn't like you get a virus when you sneeze on someone or you don't wash your hands and you touch your face, but I'm pretty sure that you only get fungus when you lick something you shouldn't have. So all you freaks out there licking like doorknobs and your feet and stuff, stop it. Stop it. You won't get fungus if you don't lick things. Simple solution. Second, when it comes to all the media about it, I go with the Stouffer's rule. You've had like a Stouffer's frozen meal with the turkey medallions and the mashed potatoes and the applesauce and the gravy, right? You put it in there for 1 minute, it's not done yet. You're not really sure what's happening. 2 minutes, well, it's a little bit better, but that third minute, it's perfect. It's all perfect and ready to eat. And the same thing goes with the news media. The first week it's reported, ignore it. Second week it's reported, ignore it. It's not ready yet. It's not done yet. Science is happening in real time. Wait for that third week and see if anyone's still reporting on it, and then we can tell this might be a little bit of a threat.
So if this is turkey medallions, we have to worry.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah. If it's 4 weeks, man, that's burnt. That's when that gets crusty.
Yeah, that's like all crusty on the sides.
Yeah,
no, I can't.
You should be.
You can't rehydrate
still makes
it.
You eat it.
You can't rehydrate it. It's done.
I love you guys.
Yeah, rehydrate.
Okay.
Just pour some water on there and put it back in.
Topic number 4: ban the robots. Elon Musk is among.
Sorry, what?
Ban the robots. Elon Musk is among 1,100 individuals, including Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak, who have called for a 6-month moratorium on further development of AI technology. We all have a discussion, that pertains to this about how dangerous AI is. Most of it comes from movies and television. Artificial intelligence, for anyone who hasn't watched a science fiction movie, is anything that has used the internet in the last 20 years. It is growing more increasingly powerful and potentially scary. AI chatbots have reported manipulation and even lied to achieve goals set by users in recent reports, claiming a European man committed suicide after a chatbot encouraged him to do it to prevent climate change, which I think we can all agree that is probably the least aggressive of all the arguments for that. The 6-month ban proposes that time be used to set up safeguards and ethics in the development of the technology. So, Bridget, do you think that we are terrified of this potential AI because of the stories we've already created in our own head in science fiction? Or is it just feel like fiction is becoming reality and that's the reason for the fear?
Oh, it's both. It's 100% both. Because, okay, I saw Pope Francis with that puffy jacket. Have y'all seen that picture?
Mm-hmm.
It's a classic.
I thought it was real. I was like, look at that jacket. Oh, look at Pope Francis. This is great. And then it was AI. Like, somebody created that. I'm still in shock. Like, it was so convincing. So, step one. If you can create things like that, and that's only a picture, right? My only real frame of reference is from Person of Interest, because I was obsessed with that show. I love that show. And it was a very intelligent AI. I don't know if y'all watched it, but it was fantastic. And in that, the AI could predict things, but they couldn't fill in the whole picture. So there was the human element that they couldn't figure out all the time. So I think that's always still going to be at play. So even though we'll have this super sophisticated stuff that's maybe trying to kill us, we still can maybe outsmart them a little bit with our human element, is the hope. And then I kept reading this article about them trying to get that 6-month moratorium, right? Okay, they talked about how you can send DNA strings to laboratories that'll produce proteins, allowing AI to first be confined to the internet and then it becomes artificial life. What have people been doing with all those ancestry things? They send some of their blood in some of those, right? Have robots been being created this whole time to people who are trying to figure out their ancestry? Oh, we're actually creating your future. So
yeah.
I mean, maybe the seeds have been planted in a lot of different ways that we don't even really see in front of us. And yeah, it's freaky, but we can watch movies and stuff and at least try to plan.
We can watch movies and try to plan. That is it. Gotta be the most actionable advice that has ever come out of this show ever. We can watch movies and then try to plan. That I think is a very real possibility.
Which is why you need to start watching The Last of Us.
I know.
So you can prepare for what's about to happen.
A little sleep and watching The Last of Us. I don't know.
John, what do you think we can do in terms of safeguards for this technology? Are we just kind of pushing it beyond its limits, or where do you think safety protocols could come into play?
They can't. Nothing can stop this, and nothing can help. A 6-month moratorium is not long enough. We need 60 years. We were talking about this before the show, and I was like, maybe they can create a self-destruction button in this AI stuff in the robots, and then we can just hit the button and then it explodes, and that way, worst case scenario, we're ready. And Joel immediately was like, well, no, because if they're sentient enough to understand that that's there, they're not going to let people know that they're there, and they're going to back everything up until they're ready to beat it. So there's nothing that we can do. If we don't get blown up in nuclear war in the next 10 years, I do actually think Terminator and something like it is likely. And I'm being serious. I know I maybe sound like I'm not. It sounds crazy, but it is crazy. The Pope Francis image is crazy. I mean, there's been people on Twitch who've been caught looking up deep fake artificial intelligence porn of their favorite content creators who have never posed naked before, and the AI shows them it's not really them, but it's AI. I mean, it is so bad.
Listen, I told you I was going to work on scrubbing those images of you from the internet. There's no reason to freak out.
No one has done that to me, thankfully.
You're aware of.
It's bad. That's horrible. It's going to continue, and we're so isolated right now as humans. We weren't meant to be alone. but we have to be in friendship and in community with one another. And it's just, what's that one movie with the guy who falls in love with that AI?
Her?
Yeah, Her.
Her.
I mean, that is so close to being a real thing where you can just buy a little AI person that like you can talk to at any time. ChatGPT is wild what it's capable of, and so yeah, I think we're barking up the wrong tree. The smart thing to do would be to ban it for 6 months, 60 years, 6 years, but we're not smart, so nothing's gonna happen.
That's fair and possible. I don't want to get too dark with this, Nicholas, but I'm going to ask this question anyway. Some would say that because of the way people operate, that we're thinking about it in one-dimensional terms, meaning that like there would be a war of robots against people, when in reality the experts say that something, if AI wanted to knock us out, would be like to just mess with our money supply, because we've proven we cannot survive as a society if the dollar crashes. So we're past that point. So what do we do to ensure ourselves spiritually, physically, societally in order to survive something like that?
I think the word to answer your question is infighting. You need to pose ChatGPT against whatever Google's coming out with and make them hate each other and watch them self-destruct. Look, like we can do this. It's I don't know. Everyone here has talked about the scary parts of it, but I've had this common cold for like weeks now, and I'm trying iron or with zinc or nickels or something I'm eating, and the post nasal drip is driving me nuts. Like, can AI work the sequences fast enough to advance in medicine? Like, part of me gets freaked out because I still use a nightlight at night. I'm afraid of the dark. But like the opportunities that AI has for things like the medical field are actually pretty exciting. Like, it can just go so much faster. And I try to tell myself, like, everyone gets freaked out about every new invention. But I don't know, humans keep persisting, and I don't see this being the last big one. And if it is, peace, deuces. I'm
Deuces.
Undefeated champ here. Like, that's I can die happy with that. But I try to be like, try not to be like my grandmother. Like, you look at the we're not very good at it, of course. Like, our parents told us, don't believe what you read on the internet, and now that's all our parents do is believe on what they see on the internet. But like, are we informing our media, or is our media altering us? And it's altering us, so we're already failing for it. So the doom and gloom's real, but like, come on, let's look at the advances it can make, or how it can help me write letters of recommendation for 20 kids going to college.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably
that's
the benefit that you do not want to give up on.
Write a letter for a mediocre student that makes their quality sound a lot better. Here are some of the things they're okay at. 500 words or less.
Yeah, they do a good job when you type that in.
That does seem like a valuable use, though, and maybe we shouldn't give up with it right away. That cold's not going away because it's a fungus, by the way. I meant to tell you.
I need to stop licking stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Joel, have you ever used anything driven by AI? If so, why do you hate humans? If not, why do you hate robots?
Why are you calling them robots?
It's more fun that way.
I have used things that have been powered by AI. And quite frankly, I think that there is a real balanced approach we can take here, where we could be all doom and gloom, and there are likely outcomes which likely end with us mostly dying, but not all of us. I think AI could keep us around for the most part, but that's a worst case scenario. We are years off of that. We're not living in science fiction movies. We're living in reality where there are real benefits to this technology if we have safeguards in place. I think that is important, that we have ethical safeguards in place that allow us to utilize this, because our fungus problem, once that becomes a national disease, AI can probably sequence that to figure out how to come up with a solution. We have to leverage this as a tool, just like we have any other tool to leverage it well. And quite honestly, I think that this presents a lot of wonderful opportunities if we are able to accept it and embrace it. And I think that's going to be the challenge, is getting people to accept it and embrace it, because an all or nothing approach, which is what we want to take, oh, this is going to be wholly bad, or, oh, unmitigated development, let's just go until something really crazy happens, is neither one of those is the right solution for it. But I think this is a great tool that can unlock creativity and great human potential for us to get further ahead and get to the moon, get to Mars, figure out ways to beat disease and combat cancer and address real problems. It's just going to require a shift in thinking. And I think that we can get there if we're diligent and if we're ethical. I don't think we're super far off.
I know we don't have a ton of time and we have to get to our last topic, Joel. But I have a question for you. What's that quote? The corruption of the best things is the worst things, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What, like the worst of this, you can have all the ethics you want, but somebody out there is going to be using it for bad and is going to have their own AI. And couldn't that just ruin it all for everyone?
Here's my this. I actually think this is maybe the best part of this particular segment for me. AI is programmed by humans. The parameters that it's reading, the way it's learning, how it's sourcing information was created by us. If AI actually turns out to be bad and kills us, it will be our fault. And I really want that to sit with people. Like I'm trying to say something like very serious. AI cannot create anything new. It can't. It's built by parameters. It scours the internet. It reads what we write. It reads what we say. So when we talk about, oh, this chatbot manipulated somebody, it's probably because that chatbot built into its own parameters. I've learned that this percentage of manipulation or falsehood is acceptable so far as the ends justify the means. It learned that from us. So if AI winds up being humanity's undoing, it will not be the robots. It will be us who did our own undoing because we've created it. We are way worse than AI is right now. And if AI winds up being killer, it's solely our fault.
Joel, we already know it's going to wind up being killer thanks to the 1999 Disney original channel movie Smart House.
So good.
Regional Disney Channel movie Smart House. Final topic for the evening. Storm chasing. The United States has seen a slew of severe weather over the past several weeks, and because of social media and HD cameras and everyone's soon-to-be sentient device, the footage was easily accessible, but not always intelligent. Video of a woman being sucked into a tornado has been viewed nearly 1 million times. It's got to be more than that now. She did live. Many videos of close encounters with deadly storms have been shared online as well. We are back to Jonathan to start this one off. Is social media in this regard making us dumber in the interest of chasing clout? Or has it always?
Yeah, no, yes, we're always going to be dumb for chasing clout and always going to be doing stupid things for views. I kind of am making a career on it, but trying not to be, very stupid. Here's the deal. Storm chasing is a top 5 job in America as far as being just amazing. Like if something horrible happened to my wife and kids and I was alone, I am either going to live off the land at Hilton Head Island. I am going to either become a truck driver or a storm chaser. Like those are my 3 choices. Okay. It is the coolest thing in the world to just chase after the thing that everyone else is running from. I think it's awesome. Really, a storm chaser is like what an exorcist is in the church. Right? Everyone else is like running away from the demons, and the exorcist is like, I got this. Okay. It's wild. Here's the deal. I've learned a lot about tornadoes recently. Once a month, I obsess about something crazy. Gangs in Chicago, mass shootings, grizzly bears, tiger attacks in India. This month, tornadoes. And here's the thing. I've seen so many videos. It's scary. It feels like there's more of them. I don't know if it's because of climate change or not. I really don't know. We've had tornadoes since the 1600s documented in America. But they're scary this past few weeks, massive, and have done a lot of damage and have killed a lot of people. Here's my hot take. I think you're safer unless you have a tornado shelter. You're in Kansas and you're underground. You are safer in your car than you are your house. In your house, you're a sitting duck. You're a sitting duck. In a car, like a storm chaser, you can see where that's going. You get in that Jeep and you just go, baby. You go. You can move. You can run through. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is not professional advice. You cannot sue me for this. Next time that you have a tornado siren, hop in that car.
Blevins told me to hop in my car and I drove straight into a tornado.
There's two things about that I
But
particularly
I caught it all
love.
on my GoPro.
One of them is that all three of John's jobs or things that he wants to do are easily interchangeable. There's no reason to limit yourself. You could live off the land as a home base, be a truck driver, and anytime you see a storm, you chase it. You got all three nailed down, my friend. That is no problem at all. You are living the dream.
Thank you.
What I appreciated about it was that John prefaced it with like, if something horrible ever happened to my wife and kids, because nobody ever prefaced it with like, if my wife and kids ever leave me.
Right. If something bad happened to them,
Like, you
then
know,
I could live
if
my
something,
dream.
gosh, if something horrible happened, not like, man, if they ever got sick of my sorry life.
And so the toss up
That's
for you,
'cause you're a good
Jonathan,
man,
has to
John.
be like, what if you lived in Disney's smart house? Would you then like exit the smart house and its potential safety, or to get in the car, or like how do you make that decision?
If I live in
a tough
Disney
one.
Smart House, you throw the garbage on the ground and you just watch it get sucked up. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. Okay. Nicholas, would you film a tornado, or are you running for cover at the first sound of sirens? You know, like a sane person.
Yeah. Wow, that was a loaded question.
I don't
Jeez,
want you to answer it incorrectly.
I'm going to answer it appropriately. Thank you. So I am not qualified as a Pittsburgher surrounded by these beautiful mountains that are hugging me in Appalachia to do this myself. But my illustrious wife is from Indiana State. And I asked her one day, I said, what do you guys do for fun in the Midwest? She goes, well, we sit on the front porch and we watch the tornadoes. She doesn't talk like that, but like, I'm like, really, do you do this? And I'm terrified of them. Like if I see circling above my house, I'm like, let's get inside. My wife goes outside and she goes, no, the sky's not the right color and it doesn't have the right smell. I'm like, you can smell tornadoes. These people from the Midwest must be consulted. You must be trained by them if you're going to do this, like anything. Like I'm not going to fight Bruce Lee without that's a terrible example.
But keep going.
Without a lot of training. I'm still not going to fight him. He's dead. But like you need the appropriate training to do these things. So if my wife was with me, or another seasoned Midwesterner who like spends their Saturday night watching the tornadoes and Sunday morning driving around to see the wreckage, those people are hardened. Those people don't go into the basement unless it's necessary. Just like anything else, just like learning how to play the guitar, just like anything that's worth doing in life, it's worth learning how to do. Is there associated risk? Of course there is. But I heard that if you tie yourself to like a gas line, like that movie Twister, and then you just hold on really tight, then you can go in the eye of the tornado, and that's totally real.
You're
and
right.
you won't
Those pipes
die.
go at least 30 feet down. Yeah.
Indubitably.
Yeah, that's I agree with you. I think you're spot on with all of it.
So you agree with my car take?
That's what I'm saying.
That was the dumbest take I've ever heard.
Saying.
I watch this show every week and I'm like, I just want to shut my laptop. How many cars have you seen flipped upside down, flying through the wind? That's just dumb. Super dumb. Mega dumb. Could I come up with a better word for it? Perhaps. Yeah, I probably could have a better vocabulary for describing your terrible, terrible take, but it was just dumb.
Joel, is there
Love
a
you,
chance
John.
we actually
Thank you.
need robot overlords to save us from this particular situation?
Flip this coin.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
I wonder, do we need robot overlords to save us from this particular situation? And here's how. I think we need robot overlords to do two things for us. One is to actually put limits on our social media so we're not doing and chasing dumb things. Storm chasing is a stupid thing to do if you're not trained in how to do it. Taking out your phone and trying to get outside to film the tornado. Oh, I hear it. I smell it, apparently, which is a thing. Oh, smells like a tornado. I'm going to get out there and try to chase cloud. That's where we need robot overlords to come in and say, listen, humans, you need to stop this. This is ridiculous. Like, go outside and enjoy yourself versus being on social media and trying to chase clouds. Go into your basement where it's safer. Don't get into a car. And John, because you've spoken that into existence, now somebody's going to type into ChatGPT, how is the best way to ride out a tornado? And you're going to come up. ChatGPT learned that and it's going to be like, get into a car and try to drive away from the tornado in a zigzag pattern. Because tornadoes are like alligators. And if you go in a zigzag pattern, they can't like chase you down. Make sure that you're going in a zigzag pattern and that you're yelling in a siren so that everybody around you knows the tornado's coming. Yes, we need AI to do that. And 2, we need AI to figure out a way that we can change the weather. Has anybody typed that prompt into ChatGPT yet? Has anybody said, ChatGPT, how do you modify the weather? Because I feel like maybe we could figure that out a little bit better. People, like governments are already figuring this out. Somebody should ask. Modify the weather for me, ChatGPT.
Yeah, ChatGPT, make it happen. Bridget, is it true that tornadoes have short arms and they don't corner well? That's not your real question. This is your real question. No, this is your real question. When it comes to this sort of like clout chasing element that has to do, in this instance, we're talking about storm chasing. Do you think that there needs to be another outlet for either educating people or teaching people, like where the line needs to be drawn between like danger and entertainment? Like, do you think that's part of the problem, is that it's kind of like it gets blurred, right? Because like social media makes everything feel so real and accessible that like people are kind of like losing the thread.
I don't think a clout chaser is going to watch an educational video.
That's fair.
And they're just not going to do it. They're
That's
just
fair.
not going to see.
Maybe it's because we, at UST Mac Studios haven't made a good enough one yet.
You're right. I think we should maybe test some of the theories that have been put forth in Around the Halo, and that would make a very compelling video. Very entertaining, but educational at the same time.
You didn't know you were going to be Mythbusters, but as it turns out, driving a car away from a tornado is going to be your first big episode. I can already feel it.
I think you just made the best point. Everybody's trying to be Mythbusters or something. Like, You're not these people. You're not Twister. You're not these things. Like, stop. Another storm is going to come. You're clout chasing for what? You're going to get, the ante is going to get upped by the next one. Like, just stop. I think that your wife is like incredible for being able to be like, no, not yet. It's not time. Like, that is so cool to me.
Oh yeah.
It's probably a skill that needs to get passed down to multiple generations. I mean, have you considered asking her to train the rest of your crew on?
I married her for it. That's why.
That's incredible.
Jeremy has a hot take. Storm chasing
Amazing.
strategies are natural selection.
They have been for quite some time. Yeah, I think it's it is possible that that's kind of always been how it is. All right. Well, this was a super fun episode for me in particular. Sorry, I went off the rails a little bit, but Jonathan Blevins is the champion of tonight's Around the Halo episode number 13. It's okay, Nick. 50-50 is a great average. Right? I mean, that's Hall of Fame if you're a pitcher.
No, it's fine.
And so
Jonathan, that's inappropriate. That's inappropriate and wrong.
Jonathan,
To do that,
classless.
that's wrong.
Classless.
Hurts my feelings.
Classless.
Sorry.
Jonathan will now get 30 seconds to discuss anything that he would like to talk about, his greatest heart's desire, or he can just run clock and say nothing. Let's see what he does. Here we go.
Or he could apologize for his class.
No, here's what I would like to say. I love that we're partnered with Net Ministries, !net in the chat. Excited to be working with them a lot over the next few months. Check them out. This Sunday, it is your obligation to enjoy 3 of the greatest things that happen, and only happens every few years, maybe once a decade, where Easter is on the same day as the Masters, which is also going to be a weather day where it rains in most of the country, and you can nap and eat really good food. Happy Easter. Enjoy.
Well done. You brought it full circle. Well done.
That's good.
All right, you guys. Well, this is a great episode from us here at Little Flower Media and Around the Halo. We certainly appreciate all of you. Nick, entertaining as always. Joel, I like the bit with the coin flip. That was really well done. And Bridget, I'm just happy to see you again. I mean,
I missed Bridget.
I don't
It's good to
know
have
what
her.
I've been
We
doing
did
with
miss
my
you,
life
Bridget.
without, having a weekly meeting where we talk about content ideas, but it needs to come back. Jonathan, you are live again. When? Sunday night?
I will be live tomorrow morning. 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And I promise, Jeremy, that I will only talk about Chicago and how horrible it is and their new mayor for 3 minutes.
Maximum of 3 minutes. We won't be able to clip anything longer than that. And if the VOD gets deleted, that's why. All right, you guys, it's been a pleasure. John, we'll see you live tomorrow. And we appreciate all of you. Thanks a lot.